Hello everybody, welcome back. This is your tropical update for November 5th. We're currently watching Invest 97L located over the Central Atlantic, as well as a system that we're watching south of Hispaniola today, going to be making its way near the Bahamas. Let's get into it. Here's the current satellite image. As you can see, 97L out in the Central Atlantic. As I've mentioned, a decent amount of convection with it, and as we zoom in on it here in a second, you'll be able to see the low-level swirl with it. Lisa, its remnants in the Gulf of Mexico, as you can see there, and then in the Caribbean Sea, that area of interest, as you can also see a decent amount of convection. The cold front coming across the U.S. today is also notable here from Mississippi up into Michigan and the like after the severe storms and devastating tornadoes in Oklahoma and Texas as expected yesterday. Here is the impact map. As we can see, 97L could make its way towards Bermuda, so I have a minimal risk there. Minimal risk also exists for several other areas like Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, and the southeastern Bahamas, as well as portions of Florida. But the probabilities increase, the chance that we have more significant tropical activity increases as we head further to the north within the Bahama chain, central Bahamas with a low risk and a slight risk in the far northern Bahamas. Also going to keep an eye on the southeastern portion of Florida, where we could see this storm track over the next few days. And that's going to be what we'll talk about these next several days. First off, here's 97L, the zoomed in version of it. Low level swirl, has the convection, just not quite to tropical status yet. As we can see, the National Hurricane Center giving it a 50% chance of formation within the next 5 days into a tropical or subtropical cyclone. Winds currently at 40 miles per hour. The area of interest that we are going to spend most of the next several days talking about has a 70% chance of formation within the next 5 days. And again, the Bahamas and Atlantic Florida need to be watching this very closely, especially probably everywhere from Miami to Orlando is what I would early categorize as, who needs to be watching this super closely. But really the entirety of Florida, save maybe the Panhandle, but maybe even then, and I'll show you why in a second, the entirety of Florida needs to be watching this one. Not expected to be a major hurricane or anything, but it could become, a low-end hurricane. It might just be a tropical storm or a tropical depression. Might even be subtropical at that. As we can see from the European, 97L develops on a couple of the models, but that area of interest is really the main thing of concern. The northern Bahamas as well as Florida. It moves over Florida in most scenarios. It moves over Florida and then up into the United States, perhaps zigzagging back and forth. And that zigzag could cause multiple landfalls in the same state, that is Florida, and also a lot of rain. A lot of rain. Rain's going to be probably the big concern with this, as we can see from the GFS. A little more support for 97L and a lot more support in kind of outlines the track of what we're expecting with this area of interest much better. So it moves up basically due north towards Bermuda, and then it makes a hard turn towards the central and northern Bahamas, clips South Florida, as in this case showing a tropical storm Cat 1, Cat 2, perhaps strengthens once it gets to the Gulf, and then it zigzags back into Florida, perhaps the Panhandle area or northern Florida. So again, this is an all Florida event. All of Florida needs to be watching this, as well as the Bahamas, as we continue to monitor the progress of this area of interest. Unfortunately, that's kind of all I can say for now. We don't have a low-level center, so we don't know where exactly the track's going to go. We aren't quite certain on the intensity, potential impacts, where the worst will be. But really, if you're in Florida, if you're in the Bahamas, keep an eye on this area of interest over the next few days. Expect some rain, expect some wind if you're in the state of Florida or in the northern Bahamas. That's all for now. Chris Sixton of Weather Catholic Media.